What is up, my dashing dudes? I am the Hans TV, and I hope that y'all are ready for some of the most infuriatingly entitled parents again, because guess what? It's time for r/entitled parents. Our first post for the day comes from Chess Hater, entitled Mother. My child can do whatever they want to make them happy. Random teenager. Hold my orange juice. Another long one, so consider yourself warned. I'm not a native English speaker, so it might be that I'm using the wrong term here. Liberal upbringing, in this case, means that the child can do whatever they want, as long as they're happy. This story happened to a friend of mine a couple of years back, so the conversation won't be 100% word for word accurate. One day, my friend went to the supermarket, as people are going to do, and there were quite a few people waiting in line, as it was a Saturday. Waiting in line were, among others, an old lady, hereby known as OL, a teenager, again T, and our entitled mother, EM, and her entitled kid, EK. With my friend being the first person in line after the person being helped at the moment by the cashier, so order of waiting in line. Other person, friend, old lady, entitled mom and kid, and teenager. The old lady had to walk with a cane and was patiently waiting behind my friend. All of a sudden, she feels something banging against her cane. She looks down and sees the EK kicking the cane for some reason. The mom is busy loading her groceries onto the conveyor belt / assembly line thingy. No idea what the correct term is for this, sorry, so she's not paying attention to the kid. Oh well, in a friendly tone, could you please stop kicking my cane, dear? I need it to walk and keep my balance. EK stops kicking and quickly hides behind their mom. The old lady smiles at them, turns back around and smiles at my friend who had turned around to see what was going on. 10 seconds later, the old lady once again feels something banging against her cane. She turns around and, again, the EK was kicking it. Oh well, still in a friendly tone, dear, I'm asking you again, could you please stop kicking my cane? I need it for balance. If you keep kicking it, you might kick it away and I could fall. EK stops kicking for a second, grins gleefully, and starts kicking the cane again, quite hard. OL turns to EM and asks, still friendly, could you please tell your kid to stop kicking my cane? I've told them 2 times already how dangerous this could be for me, but they don't want to listen. EM starts huffing and puffing. My kid isn't doing anything dangerous. He's just kicking it a bit because he's bored. You haven't fallen over yet, have you? So it's sturdy enough to take a few kicks. OL at this point is starting to get annoyed. Who wouldn't be? And she asks the mother again to tell her kid to stop kicking the cane. EM, no, I won't tell him to stop. I give my child a liberal upbringing so they can do whatever they want if it makes them happy. Behind EM, my friend notices the teenager, who had been watching the scene unfold for quite some time, getting quite angry. He had a big bottle of orange juice in his hands, and as the EM starts yelling that her child can do whatever it wants, as this is what it means to practice liberal upbringing, and OL just wants to ruin their fun, he quickly unscrews the cap on the bottle and proceeds to dump the contents all over EM's head. EM immediately shuts up in shock and turns to look behind her at T, who just grins and says, my mom gave me a liberal upbringing too, so if I want to dump orange juice all over some stuck-up of a woman because her kid is harassing a poor old lady, I can do that because it makes me happy. My friend immediately started laughing, prompting all the other people in line to start laughing as well, except for EM, of course. I don't know if EM ever pressed charges or something like that. Is it a good idea to dump orange juice over someone's head like that? Probably not, but I can't deny having felt like doing something similar a couple of times. And man, how I wish I'd been there to see this play out. And that, my friends, is how you raise a brat. Our next post comes from Littlefoot86. I don't care if he needs emergency surgery. My daughter is more important. So this just happened last night, Friday the 13th. I'd been having some pretty bad abdominal pain since the 12th. Well, yesterday I went to a local clinic and found out that I had appendicitis. The clinic called an ambulance and was transported to the big hospital. When I got there, they took me to a room and had me stripped naked and rushed me to the OR. As we were moving through the ER, this Karen stopped us and asked why I was being rushed before her daughter, since they have been here longer. The nurse told her that I was being rushed for emergency surgery. She said, I don't care. My daughter is in pain and he needs to wait his turn. The nurse said, ma'am, your daughter has a sprained ankle and this gentleman could die. She reluctantly moved out of the way when she saw a couple police officers start walking toward her. Well, surgery went great and I didn't die. Was released at 12 o'clock this afternoon. OP, if you ever watch this, I'm glad you're doing better, man. I really am. Our final post for the day comes from Cthulhu, Episode 1, the entitled Ex-Wife Wants More CS. I searched for an entitled ex-wife subreddit, but did not find one. However, since this involved indirectly my children, I think that it qualifies as an entitled parent story. So, here goes. Warning, this is kinda long, so bear with me. Background. My ex and I met in high school when we were 14, and started dating in my junior year. Got married a few years after I graduated and moved to her hometown. We lived paycheck to paycheck for quite some time, moved from her hometown back to my hometown, and I subsequently joined the army. Ironically enough, this was the time when she told me that she wanted a divorce. Me being fresh out of boot camp and by this time extremely tired of her agreed. We had been married for about 7 years at this point. So, I worked on the divorce through the mail with a lawyer that my dad knew in my hometown, as this was the days in which the internet was in its infancy. AOL was king, and MySpace was not even a thing yet, so fast forward through my 28 weeks of job training and the first year of my 2-year tour in Korea, I extended for an additional year. I had gone to the field for a training exercise, FTX, which was basically army camping for 2 weeks. Prior to leaving, I had sent my ex an email letting her not to expect any communications, as cell service was spotty where we were going and there was no internet. After the FTX was complete, we jumped over to Kunsan AB for a missile shoot. The Air Force had just built a new base exchange, military version of Walmart, so we were allowed to set up cots in the old BX building, which still had electricity, and more important, air conditioning. It also still housed the cyber cafe, which had not moved to its new location yet, as the aircraft were unable to take off at our home station due to weather. We suddenly had a free afternoon, so I decided to go over to the cyber cafe to check my email. The first thing I see is an email from the ex demanding that I call her immediately. Of course, the first thing that I think is that something is wrong with the kids. We had two, a boy and a girl. So I pull out my cell phone and my calling card. Super cheap way to call the US from Korea and make the call. The first thing that comes out of her mouth is a tirade of, "Why haven't you called before? It's been 2 weeks." I got a little heated and reminded her that A, I'd emailed her to let her know that I would be out of touch, and B, I had told her this before, as it was not the first time I'd gone to the field, and C, she could have called mom, and mom could have called me if it was an actual emergency. My ex's credit was so bad that the phone company would not authorize a long distance or international calling plan for her line. Again, this was back in the day when cell phones were still new and people still had a home phone. My stepmother had given the kids some calling cards so they could call their grandparents, and my ex could have used one to call my mom to get in touch with me. So, we finally get down to the emergency. Her bank had closed her checking account. When I asked her why it was my problem to deal with, she said that it was still a joint account and she could not deal with it because of her anxiety. Now, at this point, I started to see red. You see, when I had taken the divorce papers up for her to sign, one of the things that I did was speak to the manager of the bank. My ex already had a reputation at the bank for bouncing checks. I explained what was going on to the manager, and she authorized the opening of a savings account for my ex so that my child support payments could be deposited into it, as the joint account was going to be closed. Unfortunately, my ex was not at the bank with me when this conversation took place, so they could not close the account right then and there. So I signed the papers, they witnessed it, and all my ex had to do was go to the bank, sign her name, and all would be taken care of. My ex never got around to it. Unfortunately, at the time, I was in a hurry to get out of town, so I did not take the extra hour to take care of it then, much to my misfortune. So, I called the bank, and at the same time, I started composing an email to my lawyer about the situation. He was cool AF, and had told me to let him know if I had any further problems with her. The bank rep told me that her account had been closed because she had bounced so many checks that the account was overdrawn by $500 or so. If you don't understand what bouncing a check means, go ask your parents. This story is getting longer by the minute. Lol. I then asked what was going to happen to the allotment that I had set up for the child support payments. The military lets you set up a payment directly from your paycheck to pay certain types of bills. This is called an allotment. It shows up as a deduction from your pay. The rep told me that since the account was closed, the child support would be sent back from whence it came, i.e. the Army pay system. I sent all of this off to my lawyer, including her likely response. As it turns out, I was about 90% correct in how she would act, and he responded fairly quickly. So I opened up a Yahoo Messenger and told the ex what the bank said, and I told her that I would give her a double payment on the 1st of the following month, as the child support had already been deducted from my paycheck. This is what followed. X. Well, that is just unacceptable. You need to pay me my child support now. Me. Perhaps you don't understand. I don't have it. It was already deducted from my paycheck, sent to your account, and then sent back to the Army pay system. I won't see it until the next month. X. Well, that's not my problem. I need that money. You're required by law to pay me. Me, having received a reply from my lawyer, well, I made a good faith effort to pay my court-ordered CS obligation. It was your illegal actions, bouncing checks all over town, that rendered you unable to receive the payment. Again, I won't see the money in my paycheck until the first of the following month. You can't squeeze blood from a turnip, meaning I don't have the money to send, and I will not have it until next month. How am I going to feed the kids? This is your fault. You need to fix it. Me, I suggest you figure it out. You are the custodial parent with a responsibility to take care of my kids. I fulfilled my financial obligation. Not my fault that your actions caused you not to be able to receive the CS. X. If you don't send me my CS right now, I'm going to report you to DHS, Child Welfare Agency, for non-payment of child support. Me. Cool. I'll just fax them a copy of my LES, leave an earning statement, that shows that the CS allotment is on it. This went back and forth for a few more minutes, and I agreed to send her $50 through Western Union to cover the essentials, milk and sundries for the kids, which was all that I could spare. X. How are you going to send me my child support from now on, since I don't have a bank account? Me. I'm going to mail a check, of course. X. What? I can't cash a check here. I'm banned from cashing checks at every business in town. You have to send me my CS in a manner in which I can receive it. Me. Not my problem. A personal check is a legal form of child support payment in the US. So, X, I'll just not cash the check and report you to DHS, Child Welfare Agency, for non-payment. Me, cool. I'll just send it registered mail. Signature required. No problem. X, can't you just Western Union it? Me, what? Every month? Sure, I can do that if you want to pay the money transfer fees. X. What? No, I shouldn't have to pay to receive my child support. Me. Well, I shouldn't have to pay to send it. Yet, here we are. The fact that this one is called Episode 1 concerns me because that means that there's probably more that his ex tried to get out of him. I will keep on this guy and see what's going on. Well, my dashing dudes, that is going to do it for today's episode of r/Entitled Parents. I hope you liked the stories. If you did, I'll link them down in the description below as always so you can give them a check. And if you liked the video, feel free to drop a subscribe, a like, and a comment down below with what you'd like me to read next. A huge thank you to my patron Connor. Man, you're really helping out the channel. I can't thank you enough for the support you give me. And to everyone else who subscribed in the past couple months, thank you so much. I'm so glad that you have decided to join the Dashing Dudes. But with that being said, I will see you in the next video.